A deafening bolt of lightning split the sky in two, as if foreshadowing something bad. At the same time, the door slammed sharply. The sound made the guy flinch, then followed the question of his name. The girl's aura, as always, was threatening. What was his purpose in infiltrating their base? All his insides twisted into one lump. How many times has he said this? His name is Song Chao, and he came here as a tourist. The girl continued to be irritated. How long could she hear this answer? She narrowed her eyes skeptically. He would continue to be stubborn. There are monsters everywhere. But he brought 2 buckets of precious tomatoes. Walking unceremoniously around the city, she is sure he had no bad intentions. After all, when the girls tried them for the first time, they felt a taste similar to an anesthetic. The girl's younger sister started coughing violently. Sister doesn't need to worry. Shen Jiame will tell you when he's finished. She checked it. These tomatoes do not have any other pharmaceutical ingredients, except for a small residue of pesticides. Song Chao felt that this was his chance. He made his voice as soft as possible. Could they please let him go? Shen Jiawen chuckled. How naive he was. He fell into their hands in Xicheng and was still trying to laugh it off. The girl grabbed his t-shirt, almost tearing it. Where did he get all these tomatoes? Is there anything else? He found himself close to the end of the world. It was so risky. Fortunately, he was careful and cautious along the way. Otherwise, even before meeting these 2 sisters, he was killed by a zombie on the road. The blow of the whip barely missed him. He is just a murderer. Let him talk. Shen Jiawen shook him by the shirt again, telling him to talk or she would kick his ass. The guy couldn't stand it anymore. He understood everything. Enough. He arrived at another base and he was here to do some business. And if she helped him, he could give her even more supplies. Shen Jiawen's expression instantly changed. Was he really saying that he had even more? But then a frightening thought came into her head. What does he want? Is he by any chance a slave trader? At the promise of supplies, the younger sister howled, She wants to eat vegetables and eggs. Shen Jiawen looked at her sympathetically. Let her take care of herself. Where can she even get eggs now? But the guy didn't understand what was surprising about these demands. He assumed they were simply hungry, but he didn't expect that food would be in such short supply here. Finally, he was released. It was time to test the waters, to see what could be obtained in exchange for a bucket of tomatoes. He has sick parents whom he must take care of, and his sister also needs money to go to school. Since he got here through the mysterious ring, perhaps he could take advantage of the opportunity and make a fortune. Shen Jiawen thought about it. About 6 energy modules or a dozen laser pulse cannons. The girls stared at him with wide eyes, wondering who he really was. Their base is very rich, so they have a high demand for these things. They need food, and his base needs silver, gold, and jewelry. How about making an exchange? Shen Jiawen was deep in thought about how many non-radioactive tomatoes like these he could offer. They have plenty of food. He will come here every day as long as they have what he needs. He wants the girls to be able to keep him safe while he is here. Without thinking twice, Shen Jiame and Shen Jiawen agreed, but they also had to decide on the price. A tomato can be exchanged for 10 kilograms of gold or other items and similar valuables. But he also needs to know that these useless things are heavy, so she won't be able to carry too many of them at once. Well, the deal is made, and now he can bring food to start the cooperation. And these tomatoes will be considered an advance payment. She hasn't eaten anything so clean for many years. The guy was about to say goodbye when his new partner abruptly stopped him. He must not leave this place and disappear from her sight. The mutants in this area were destroyed, but not completely. If he runs away and dies, he can't blame them for not protecting him. But Song Chao still had to leave, so he pretended to need to go to the toilet. The girl shyly recoiled, let him go. After stretching his stiff body, Song Chao finally disappeared from the girl's sight. We need to think everything through. There must be a reason for everything that happened. It seems to him that the reason for his movement into this world can only be one thing, the ring shining on his finger. It doesn't even seem to be precious since he just bought it at the store. We need to try to do what he did last time. Song Chao twirled it on his finger. The world around him began to spin, breaking into pixels, and his breathing quickened with excitement. When he opened his eyes, he found himself back on his native streets. He had truly returned. Then the old man was surprised to see it here. This ring of heaven and earth. It will bring him great fortune in the future, and he is ready to sell it. He'll even sell it at a discount for only 99 yuan. Now Song Chao was worried about who this old man was. He didn't have time to really find out anything, because the city guards chased after the old man. Song Chao scratched his head in confusion. First, he needed to find the old man to find out everything from him. A A sharp call made him start and stop. The neighbor was already on edge. He didn't want to tell her when his family would return the money to her. Her son is going to take exams at the university, so they need them. Song Chao tried to force a smile and bowed. He needed a few more days and he would repay the debt. His father developed pneumoconiosis and his mother suffered a sudden cerebral hemorrhage, and they could not afford treatment. He borrowed a lot of money to pay for it, and now he will have to rely on a deal with these two sisters. But the woman was adamant. What, 3 days, when she had been waiting for 5 years already? Their family would better get rid of this burden. Song Chao tried to maintain his composure throughout this conversation, but the last words made him lose his temper. If she says one more bad word about his family, believe it or not, he will kill her. He said that he would return the money with interest, so now he should leave him alone. The woman hurried to return home as quickly as possible. He still dared to intimidate her, and yet she had warned him. Song Chao exhaled. He must take this opportunity to make his family live a good life. The next day, the guy bought a bunch of vegetables. Just think that such a cheap product will bring him wealth. Well, it's time. He twisted the ring again. Song Chao chuckled contentedly. He actually returned to the same place. True, he was not greeted as warmly as expected. The cold barrel of a pistol pressed against his forehead. Shen Jiawen smiled coldly. Welcome, was he constipated or something? Where did he disappear to yesterday? Song Chao waved his hands, trying to calm the girl down. He just went to get some food. Didn't those two want vegetables and eggs? Well, he brought them. Song Chao wanted to show off his supplies when he realized his hands were empty. Shen Jiame snatched the buckets, almost drooling. The elder sister immediately got down to business, ordering them to go and cook. After some time, there was absolute silence in the abandoned building, except for the sound of smacking. Shen Jiawen asked where he hid the food. As far as she knows, within a 10-kilometer radius of this base, there is nothing but zombies and mutants. Of course, when he goes out, he must take enough food with him. Otherwise, what he will eat and drink, they cannot worry about the rest. It's time to talk about the deal. Are there any storage facilities nearby? No, this is the western suburb of Linjiang City. There are only residential areas nearby, but no storage facility. Moreover, even if it is there, they will not be able to open it with the equipment they have. Song Chao's voice trembled with anger. Liars. There is no storage here, but she promised him 10 kilograms of gold for tomatoes. Shen Jiawen was obviously in a good mood after a hearty meal. Although there was no storage here, there was a plot with pitchforks. These rich people should have what he needed. Song Chao was ready to rush off right then and there, but the girls were in no hurry. Song Chao glared at her with indignation, and the girl gave in. Shen Jiawen quickly got ready, ordering her sister to stay here and not leave anyone alive. Song Chao was worried that his elder sister would be able to handle everything on her own. He can be sure that the mutant monsters here were destroyed by them. Once they get there, the guy can take whatever he likes. Song Chao was just an ordinary person traveling from the present to the future, and he was currently a little panicked. A couple of minutes ago, the girl handed him a soldier's watch. There was a small problem. He had no idea what it was or how to use it. Shen Jiawen was shocked. Did he really never use them? Song Chao hesitated awkwardly. He was not a fighter and had not even seen the monsters she mentioned. The watch is multifunctional. It can not only determine his location, but also determine the intensity of surrounding radiation and maintain contact with teammates. Having put on protective clothing, the girl pulled her partner along with her. Hurry, he will find out more about everything on the way. Song Chao's mouth opened in amazement. It seemed like there was some kind of transport in front of him, but what was most surprising was that it had no wheels. Shen Jiawen glanced at him suspiciously. He was definitely from this world. Had he really never seen a magnetic all-terrain vehicle? The guy laughed and awkwardly looked away. Of course he was from this world. The engine roared loudly. Song Chao felt a rush of hot air, and they were blown into the air. Unfortunately, the guy was afraid of heights, and with an empty look, he clung to the girl. He looked down with fear. It was surprising how quiet everything was around. Shen Jiawen said that they had already cleared this place several times, and that it had become calmer after the mutants were killed. The boy felt his insides clench as the rat-like monster attacked them with a roar. But the girl was cold-blooded, just one shot, and the monster was gone. Shen Jiawen chuckled. Don't let him fuss, it's just a mouse. Song Chao realized that he also wanted security. How many groceries could buy a gun? It's worth nothing here. If you want, you can exchange it at the base for an egg. Song Chao couldn't believe it. An egg could be exchanged for a weapon. In this dangerous world, combat equipment must have been perfected. Finally, they landed on the outskirts of some abandoned city. The girl said that they were there. The mansion really did look impressive, but it didn't fit in with the apocalyptic world at all. Shen Jiawen armed herself and moved forward, and also ordered them to follow her and not act alone. They haven't been in this area for a while. It might be a bit of a challenge. When Song Chao crossed the threshold of the house, he couldn't help but let out a surprised sigh. Everything looked simply magnificent and very rich, if you don't count the grotesque splashes of blood on the walls and furniture. You can just pick up the sofa and take it away. It looks very expensive. The girl noticed that her partner was thinking and stopped, so she called out to him. They must return back before dark, starting with the master bedroom first. Typically, valuables will be here. However, the room was almost empty and lonely. It seemed like there was nothing here. It was better to move on. Shen Jiawen gave him a skeptical look and suddenly kicked the mirror with her heel. The guy screamed in fear. How did she know that there was a secret door here? In the past, her house was more luxurious than this one. Such an arrangement is not unusual. It seems that Shen Jiawen's main trade is to go ahead. She simply demolished the castle. It was hard and creaking, but the safe door finally opened. Seeing all this glitter, Song Chao's eyes lit up. Now he was rich. His partner was indifferent to all this. Let him quickly look around and take what he needed, and then they would go to the next house. The guy almost started drooling at the sight of the galleon made of pure gold. Then his attention was drawn to a ring lying alone on the shelf. Since it's in this vault, it must be very valuable. Song Chao decided to take him. How happy he was that all his problems would soon be solved. However, an unexpected rumble somewhere below made his heart stop. Shen Jiawen took a stance and hissed at him without making a sound. She read the data from her bracelet and her eyes widened in surprise. Based on her reaction, the guy assumed that it was someone she knew. These are people from the southern suburbs. They wanted to sell them and their sister as slaves. They came to the western city several times. And now these guys are surrounded by a group of mutant wasps. The girl muttered to herself, "What a misfortune," but her voice was tinged with malice. Song Chao used the bracelet to read information about the new creature. While they are being attacked by mutant wasps, there is an opportunity to attack. Shen Jiawen made a decision that before anyone noticed them, they would leave through the window. The girl quickly jumped over the windowsill, calling her cowardly partner to follow her. Despite the great height, Shen Jiawen landed completely silently. The same cannot be said for Song Chao, who felt a shooting pain through his ankle upon landing. Shen Jiawen looked at him with a puzzled expression. Has he never been injected with gene-strengthening fluid? And again, the only question that interested Song Chao was whether he could buy it. For about 30 eggs, this will be possible. But enough chatter, we need to move forward. A bullet flew dangerously close, causing them to freeze in place. One of the slackers shouted, ordering someone to help them. Such a shameless tone made the girl furious. Shen Jiawen handed the gun to her partner, asking him to cover her. Song Chao felt a new wave of fear. What should he do? Shen Jiawen was starting to get worried. Let him hurry up and help her. The boy's voice trembled as he awkwardly admitted that he had never used a gun. His partner was confused and angry. She had no luck working with him. After giving the bracelet a couple of programs, she got something that resembled a bomb. Song Chao looked at the object from all sides with interest to see what it was. He will have to pay for the flash and smoke grenades to repel insects. The people involved in the shootout hardly had time to react. This was a good opportunity to escape. The boy and the girl rushed forward. But the psycho from this company was shooting blind. He won't let them escape. Song Chao forgot how to breathe when he saw the rapidly approaching bullet, but it was stopped by a protective field. Or so Song Chao thought. The bullet's momentum was stronger, and it was able to hit the girl, breaking through the defense. Shen Jiawen's shoulder was torn apart. Blood splashed everywhere. The girl assured that she was fine. They needed to keep running. The mutants continued firing. Fortunately, they were aimed more at the bandit company. Continuing to fire back, Shen Jiawen gave the signal now. She jumped on her bike, activating the programs. Under the deafening roar of the engine, the girl extended her hand to her partner. Unfortunately, the bandit noticed that the couple was about to leave, and then he realized that this girl was familiar to him. It was Shen Jiawen. Shen Jiamei pouted in displeasure, and how could he put her sister in such a position? Song Chao continued to apologize awkwardly. He had never encountered anything like this before, but he can forget about it. First, he needs to practice shooting to expect any effectiveness in combat. Shen Jiamei gave just one injection, and the wound disappeared. He should pay more attention to cooking and exchange options as soon as possible. The guy decided to say goodbye again. The girl warned him that these southerners could come at any time. Was he sure that he wanted to leave now? But Song Chao can't do anything about it. He really has something to do, and he has to go back. Next time, he will definitely bring him even more delicious treats. Having disappeared around the corner, The guy instantly activated the ring. Shen Jiamei, who had been following him, noticed his disappearance. The older sister was too distracted, cursing at the damned Southerners. They broke her armor and now she is completely unusable. However, the younger sister still reported that the guy had left. Shen Jiawen sighed tiredly. What a problematic guy, what should she do next? Great, with this he can improve the life of his family. It was already closer to midday that Song Chao headed to the pawn shop. However, the consultant working there was not so happy about his appearance. He had been considering for more than an hour what she could help him with. With hope in his voice, the guy asked if he could exchange the gold. The girl became increasingly irritated. They accept gold items for recycling, but they need textures. They do not accept items of unknown origin. Song Chao waved his hand as he walked away. Then he would go to another store. This is all bad. He has to find a way to sell it. But wherever he went, he was still rejected. The item definitely looked stolen. No one will want to accept it. Where could he find a gold store that could quickly give him cash? But even there, they offered too little. By the end of the day, Song Chao was in despair. He could not sell the golden ship at all. He never thought about the situation when he has gold in his hands, but he cannot sell it. There was a quiet shuffling sound. Someone was approaching him. Why did the man with the hoarse voice ask if he really wanted to sell the gold? An old man stood in front of him. It was difficult to determine how old he was, and he had a strange appearance. A greedy smile twisted his lips. Then why don't they chat in his store? The longer they walked, the more excited Song Chao felt. The store was located far from the center, in some dark and deserted alley. The owner greeted him. Welcome to his antique shop. His name is Zhou Fuyuan and he owns it. Why doesn't the guy get the product he's so eager to sell? Carefully placing the heavy golden ship down, Song Chao abruptly tore the bag off of it, the shine of the product almost blinding its owner. A pristine gold galleon, a work of art, sells for the same price as regular gold. The owner grabbed a magnifying glass and began to examine the work of art with a satisfied laugh. It was very elegantly made, a really good thing, and between each sentence there was a satisfied chuckle. Song Chao watched the old man closely. This was his last hope. Their store makes money based on honesty and fairness. They never cheat people. If he buys or sells, he will pay according to the market price. They should become friends. Zhou Fuyuan will wait for him if he has anything else to sell. Song Chao was ready to squeal with delight when 740,000 yuan was transferred into his bank account. In high spirits, Song Chao knocked on his neighbor's door. The woman peered out from behind the curtain with apprehension and distrust. Song Chao said that he was here to return the money. After these words, the woman noticeably relaxed. She led him into the house and asked him to translate them to her son. Zhang Jun came out of his room at his mother's call to help collect the debt. He was still unhappy after so many years. He was finally ready to pay. Song Chao ignored the jab and waved his phone in front of his nose, mobile money transfer. Still making a dissatisfied face, Zhang Jun exchanged the code with him. Song Chao doesn't go to school. He should have found a job and paid off his debts earlier. No wonder family is a waste of time. He owed them 10,000 yuan at home, and he would transfer 12 to them, the extra money being interest. He should be grateful if there is no basic education, which is different from animals. But if he hears another bad word about his family, he won't beat around the bush. Zhang Jun blushed with indignation. How dare he intimidate them? The debt was repaid. Then he would change his parents' bedding, clean the house, and find another nurse. Maybe he should buy another house. He was worried about what happened to those two sisters. Maybe he should take a look. In the end, Song Chao couldn't resist and returned to the abandoned warehouse. He opened the front door noisily, greeting the girls. However, his reception was again joyless. The barrel of the pistol was again pressed against his forehead. Shen Jiawen recognized him and stepped back hesitantly. She shook her hair in displeasure, and why was he here again? The atmosphere was somehow tense, from which the guy concluded that those bastards were coming for them. It's none of his business. He left them, so what is he doing here? Song Chao has a younger sister. He had arranged to meet her in the evening. If he hadn't returned, she would have gone looking for him. He didn't take her with him because he would feel uncomfortable with her. She doesn't trust anyone but him, and she is very aggressive. The guy shook his head awkwardly and tried to change the subject. He brought them some bacon and sausage to see if they wanted to try it. In just a few minutes, the plates were empty. Shen Jiamei's stomach was so full that she found it hard to breathe. She was so full, it had been so long since she had eaten such delicious meat. Their power module is about to run out. Tomorrow they will go to the Linjiang base for materials. Song Chao's mouth dropped open in surprise when the girl invited him to come with them. He couldn't believe his ears. Of course he would go. Strengthening solution, combat uniform, weapons, he also has something to buy. It might be worth taking 10 copies of each, but wouldn't that be too heavy? The solutions in Linjiang have almost the same effects, so introducing them several times is useless. Song Chao has a few friends who haven't strengthened their bodies yet, so he needs to take some for them too. They leave at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, but he needs to prepare more food or there won't be enough. Song Chao was more pleased than ever. She could rest assured and rely on him. The next day, he dropped 2 heavy bags on the ground with a bang. The girls couldn't believe their eyes. There are 2 whole bags, and they are full of vegetables and fruits, as well as meat. Song Chao leaves them 2 bags as payment for the work. The rest must be exchanged for what he needs. Euphoria has taken hold of him, and he is looking forward to it. Having gathered and transferred supplies to the trunk of the vehicle, the company finally set off. Even though there were now 3 of them, there was still plenty of room on the bike. With a measured hum, they slowly approached their goal. Song Chao was surprised. The city was surrounded by strong-looking walls. Is that really a military base behind the wall ahead? The younger sister nodded. That's right. The impregnable walls have 3 roads scattered across minefields. Mutants will not dare approach residential settlements or military fortresses. A long queue was gathering at the main gate. The guard's order is to watch the queue. Pass through and present your pass. The desire for profit overwhelmed the guy from head to toe. What is the exchange rate? 1 electronic currency is equivalent to half an egg. Shen Jiawen placed the bracelet on the gate and a distinctive sound was heard. Finally, the whole company was able to cross the gate. They were greeted by a mechanical voice. Welcome to Linjiang. Song Chao couldn't help but let out a cry of delight. The whole city was blinking and shining with neon lights. Song Chao felt like he was in some kind of cyberpunk. Although they have surrendered their weapons, he can rest assured that the residential and business areas are absolutely safe. However, looking around, Song Chao doubted it. Hungry glances followed him, wondering if it was really safe here. Song Chao stopped every now and then to look at the various signs, and Shen Jiawen advised him to be less curious. The guy nodded in agreement. How could he waste food on such things? It would be better to go and sell the products. This is good. Although they are also people, they can do a lot for food, including killing him in the middle of the night and taking all his things. Finally, the girl said, they reached their destination. Among the bright advertisements above them, a green sign glowed. An exchange office. You can't say anything. It's better to pretend to be indifferent. This way, no one will look down on him. At the entrance, they were met by guards. Song Chao felt goosebumps. The bearded man chuckled, asking if they had any good products to sell. The girl, with all her composure, dumped her bag on the table. The man couldn't believe his eyes. For a moment, he was speechless. Shen Jiawen smiled contentedly. She sells all of this. The bearded man was confused. Did they really want to exchange all this? Even the second guard, who was acting as cool as possible, couldn't believe his eyes. Their mouths were filling with saliva. These were vegetables, and fresh ones at that, and also pork, and there is at least 3 kilograms of it. This excitement attracted everyone's attention, and many people came closer to take a closer look. An important question arose. Where did they get all this from? Another guard whispered quietly in his ear. It was better not to ask, otherwise they might not come again. The bearded man cleared his throat. He will prepare everything immediately. You just need to wait a little. Shen Jiawen felt better than ever. No tricks. She was watching him. In the end, the company received 470 coins. Shen Jiame was delighted. There were a lot of things to buy. They should go shopping. This time, both girls helped Song Chao so they can choose whatever they want. But no matter how much the sisters refused, the guy continued to insist that he could trust them and would count on them in the future. Rejoicing in the profits it had received, the company had no idea that it had attracted unnecessary attention. Rumors of the company's success in obtaining over 400 coins spread like wildfire throughout the small town. The man chuckled thoughtfully, chewing the end of his cigarette. That's a lot. They had vegetables, fruits, and even pork. Brother Tiger doubted his words and continued to insist in a submissive manner that this was the real truth. There are 3 of them, 1 man and 2 women, and they are still shopping at the market. The man beckoned to the guards with his finger. Lao Liu must give the order to their people to stay on the road to the western outskirts. In their days, whoever could get pork would become a real rich man. The man burst out laughing. This was his lucky ticket. Shen Jiawen still had doubts about whether her partner was sure he wanted to go to the market. Song Chao shrugged. Not only she, but he also had something to buy. Shen Jiawen chuckled. Okay, then she suggests splitting up. Song Chao's eyes were darting around. There was so much new to him around. He was so shocked when he first saw the hologram that he stared at it for several minutes without blinking. Suddenly, a mechanical voice came from his bracelet, causing the young man to flinch. It is an automated interface with assistants to provide him with advice and services for creating trade routes. A voice greeted him. "Welcome to the Linjiang-based trading market." Song Chao was breathless. "This is amazing. This market has absolutely everything." He froze in delight at almost every display window, and the girls gradually began to get irritated. They also had things to do. In the end, the sisters left him here alone, as the one who hired them wants to leave them a bad review. But the new dialogue box that flashed made him forget that thought. He smiled enthusiastically again. It was an automatic pistol. "What can I say? It's a chaotic world. They have to buy weapons to ensure their survival. So he needs to do his shopping too. He can't hide behind a woman's back every time something happens." And after some time, Song Chao came out of the store, completely renewed. He actually bought armor and weapons. The pistol felt pleasantly cool on his skin. Finally, the sisters found him. It seems they bought Chicho wanted. Shen Jiawen praised his equipment. It seems he is beginning to understand how important life is. She also unceremoniously added that they had run out of money. Shen Jiawen tried to justify herself by saying that they had bought a lot of important things, but her younger sister quickly gave her away and said that they hadn't spent money on tasty things. While making fun of each other, the company didn't even suspect that they were being watched. Finally, the company moved along the highway that led to the exit from the city. The engine roared so loudly that it could be heard from far away. This was precisely what played into the hands of the people who were waiting for Song Chao and the sisters. Lao Liu contacted the boss via comm, so the loot is here. The tiger grinned contentedly. "Great, time to get to work." At the signal, the subordinate men took aim. The bike was rapidly approaching. The tiger reminded that they must not be killed. He slowly counted to 3, fire. Dozens of bullets tore through the air, filling it with the pungent smell of gunpowder. There was a series of explosions, and everything around was filled with fire. The tiger couldn't believe his eyes and cursed out loud. Didn't he say, "Don't kill"? How could he get the money then? They are just a bunch of idiots. Do they really work for free? When the flames died down and the smoke diminished, people came closer, and only debris remained. The tiger's sensitive hearing caught the whistling sound of a bullet, but no one managed to react in time. Another explosion rang out. Shen Jiame laughed contentedly, calling everyone around her trash. The bright flashes of fire lifted her spirits. They are on a straight road to hell. The man felt his whole body being engulfed in pain. And what it was. He was a little disoriented what had happened. The bombing. It was an anti-ambush. There was no one in the car. They distracted them and attacked with artillery from a distance. The realization came too late that in that case, the second wave of shelling would soon begin. The man gave the order to take several men and deal with the artillery. Shen Jiame was starting to get worried because the recharge hadn't finished yet. It's so annoying that she's not very good in close and medium-range combat. Okay, sister said there's nothing firepower can't solve. And if there is, then more firepower is needed. The mercenaries were approaching, faster and faster. "We need to deal with the shooter on the hill as soon as possible. Otherwise, they will attack again." A new series of charges and a barrage of fire illuminated the area, sowing panic everywhere. The mercenaries were at a loss. What the hell? They needed to find shelter. What the hell? Who attacked them? A shiver ran down the man's spine as he approached and saw the hovering cannon. How is this possible? Such a thing can only be sold to private individuals. He tried to find cover as quickly as possible, seeing that the cannon was gaining power again. Shen Jiami watched this escape with satisfaction. Her sister was right. Despite this incident nearby, the Linjiang base continued to calmly burn with neon lights. A match was struck and the man took a drag with pleasure. The silence was broken by one of his comrades. And why did he stay here? He sold the information about the double flower to Brother Hu, but didn't he go to see if there were any leaks? He never comes back to find out information about the object. It's reckless. It's easy to die and lose all your materials in vain, so you need to take this seriously. Is this the reason, after all, there are so many comrades here? The bottom line is that this is not a decorative flower at all. It is a peony, a winter flower. Half a day in ambush, but now it's time to play. Shen Jiawen acted quickly, shooting at everyone in sight. 1, 2, 3, 4. She continued counting out loud with pleasure. And here come the 5th and 6th, the mercenaries falling under a barrage of bullets like toy soldiers. The gang leader began to panic, demanding that she be killed. It was a good warm-up. She hasn't thanked them yet. They just got some new gear and the bandits helped them test it. They all did a good job. Just 30 minutes ago, Song Chao was screaming in fear. Someone had set up an ambush for them. After all, when buying so many things at the base, It is only natural to become the target of others. Shen Jiawen ordered her sister to cover from a distance, and she attacked as usual. As for the young master, he can go with the younger sister. They cannot count on his effectiveness. The plan is to use the car as bait to concentrate their fire and catch them off guard. But Song Chao doubted that it was so necessary. Why don't they just go the other way? No need to kill anyone. What is he talking about? Shen Jiawen clicked her tongue in displeasure. If he hasn't realized it yet, they are after Song Chao's soul. They are here to take his belongings, sell his flesh and blood, enslave him, and take his life. And he still doubts whether it is necessary to kill these scum. He feels that killing is the wrong choice. Well, he will see for himself a little later. Damn, the reload time is too long. A chuckle escaped Shen Jiawen's lips. Perhaps she was too confident. Shen Jimei arrived just in time. We mustn't forget about her. The girl had no doubt that she would be covered. A smile appeared on her face involuntarily. There are no enemies within a kilometer radius. There is no tactical plan. The system's mechanical voice was heard. Did the remaining survivors escape? Shen Jiamei laughed, rejoicing at their victory. They had done it. Suddenly, the elder one fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Song Chao felt panic wash over him as to what had happened. There were curses. These assholes had armor-piercing bullets. The armor was pierced through. Fortunately, the others got scared and ran away. Shen Jiawen tried to stay conscious with all her might. She suggested going back to Linjiang. Before passing out, she asked to be taken to Dr. Shu. To get this bullet out, they have to find it. As they say, it's rare, but it happens that even a horse stumbles. This was the first time Dr. Shu had heard that the girl had been injured and sent to the doctor due to a miscalculation of the strength of her protection. At first, she thought it was a joke and just laughed. Shen Jiawen felt a wave of irritation rising. Let him shut up. Who would have thought that a guy from Nanya Jiao had a weapon that could penetrate second-level armor? The doctor changed the subject. She heard that the girl received a lot of money from someone stupid. It's rare that Shen Jiawen doesn't deny this. Where does such honesty come from today? She doesn't have to worry. Her sister is waiting near the operating room, and she is very worried about her. But the rich guy seems to be more interested in the upgraded cabin. And it looks like there was no physical reinforcement, and this is the first time he's seen a reinforcing cabin. Although she may forget about it, the doctor doesn't want to hear gossip about when she changed her gear, whether she thought about adding a rechargeable battery or a counting module. Shen Jiawen gasped in pain and blushed. Dr. Shu chuckled thoughtfully. It seemed the anesthesia was still not working. Shen Jiawen frowned. The anesthesia took time to wear off. Then an embarrassed laugh escaped her lips, and she gradually drifted off, muttering some nonsense to herself, which gives her the illusion that she can run right after the doctor takes the bullet out of her. Dr. Shu will remove the bullet, but afterward she needs to lie down for at least 2 hours to recover her strength and nutrition. Does she understand this? The threat was so terrifying that it momentarily brought Shen Jiawen back to consciousness. But the doctor didn't pay attention to this. She grabbed the instruments, followed by a painful cry. The bar was completely silent, except for the sound of heavy breathing coming from somewhere in the back room. The tiger collapsed tiredly into one of the chairs, his wound continuing to bleed. The subordinate screamed. And why did he stand up? Let him call someone for help. And let him not forget to take the box with the medicine. The girl tried to calm her boss down, telling him to be patient and that the medicine would arrive soon. Curses continued to escape the tiger's lips. Didn't they notice that something was wrong there? The mercenary returned again with a worried expression on his face. The people who remained to guard the house left. It seems they are not alone in the house now. Someone took the gun off safety. They have uninvited guests. Before the mercenaries could react, they were instantly overpowered. The tiger stepped back on unsteady legs. What does this mean? A man came forward whose betrayal he did not expect. A snake. Why is his entire company located on his territory? What does this mean? Brother Tiger needn't worry. He will explain everything to him. 1,000 words can be expressed in one sentence. He went to Shen Jiawen and got into trouble. Is he making fun of them, since he himself gave them this information? The mercenary exploded, but who knows how many people they lost. Patience snapped. The guard shot the man in the head. The snake shook his head from side to side in disappointment, apologizing to his brother Tiger. The boss speaks, but he doesn't interfere without permission, so he just helps him discipline his little brother. The tiger threatened him that his brother Wolf would not leave all this alone. But the snake was completely indifferent to his threats. The news that he was targeting Shen Jiawen was on everyone's lips. The other 3 Linjiang bosses asked the Southern District to explain this. And also Lone Wolf was filled with cement. However, there are those who still think that the fee is not high enough, so they asked for it to be removed as well. The tiger must understand that he is also in a difficult situation. He must understand that everything is on his side. This is Blackwood. Why doesn't he send Buddha to heaven and help his brother? And one more thing. Could he please give them all his money and land deeds? The liquid in the car made funny gurgling sounds and also shimmered in different colors. Song Chao couldn't take his eyes off it. It was so beautiful and interesting. The doctor appeared out of nowhere, apparently interested in the enhancing liquid. Stepping back shyly, Song Chao greeted the doctor awkwardly. There was something frightening about her. He hoped that Shen Jiawen was okay. It's just a small operation. Shen Jimei is already looking after it. Dr. Shu pierced him with a sharp gaze, asking if he wanted to try genetic enhancement. Song Chao squinted skeptically at how much it cost. The doctor said, 800 units, installment plan possible. The girl rolled her eyes at his complaint that it was expensive. The drug is one of the important things in this life, thanks to which they were able to survive the threat of mutated creatures. They can also tolerate high levels of radiation, eat mutated food, and their skills and strengths are significantly improved. The point of the drug is not that it strengthens the body. It is the basis of survival and the dignity of life. Does he still think it is expensive? Dr. Shu received her congratulations. This time, she successfully sold the product with a profit of 500%. She doesn't know who he is anymore, but she can say that he has never seen a genetic drug before. Selling good things at a high price is the basis of business. Remembering Shen Jiawen, the doctor went to the room but did not find the girl. She disappeared, leaving a message that she would pay next time. She needed to be taught a lesson. Having finished his business, the snake remained in high spirits. They are simple people. He is so lucky today. The subordinate was worried whether everything would be okay. Should the tiger be allowed to live? The people under this guy's command have been killed, and the people who supplied him have disappeared too. Besides, this time they just fire the pavilion ruler. They didn't do it, and they can't help with the finishing touches. The intrigues between the big guys have nothing to do with them. They were hired to be ahead. Then the snake turned to someone behind him about the report. The girl slowly walked into the light. They brought a bunch of people and set up an ambush. They robbed the ruler, took the people and captured the house like an honest spy. Doesn't he want to say something? The snake cursed under his breath. He heard that Sister Shen was injured. The girl accused the man that she almost died because of him. But didn't he tell her everything before the fight? He didn't mention that someone was selling these bastard special armor-piercing bullets. Snake and Shen Jiawen laughed at the same time, but there was a hysterical note in the man's voice. He instantly tensed up, wondering what Shen Jiawen wanted. The girl laughed frivolously again. He could relax. She just wanted to meet him again and discuss business. The snake assumed that the girl wanted to cooperate with their reconnaissance group. Of course, she always welcomes purchasing information from them. Just like today, he spreads his information and deceives the bad guys. Of course, it's better to control the numbers. She'll take people to kill them, and then his team will search the houses. The items left on the battlefield will belong to the sisters. They will be sold to his team at a reduced price. The rest will be divided into 4 or 6 parts. She knows that the snake cannot refuse. He would be lying if he said that he was not interested. If they can't do it themselves, let them go back to their boss and think about it. By the way, if there are any more intelligence errors like today's, they will deduct their share in the future. It looks like a gold credit card that had Brother Tiger's money transferred onto it. The snake came to his senses, and when she managed to drag her away, then he instantly hesitated. Okay, it will be her gift. Shen Jiawen smiled contentedly. She looked forward to working with him. Then the girl disappeared around the corner, disappearing into the darkness. He will not stop her or interfere with her because he knows that they are not alone here. It's warm and wet, like diving into the depths of the sea. But at the end, it feels like the sun is shining. Song Chao blinked, coming to his senses. It was a lamp, rubbing his face. The guy tried to come to his senses, but his head felt like it was stuffed with cotton wool. After lying in bed for some time, he finally found the strength to get up. He looked at his body but didn't notice any changes, whether the enhancement was ready. He listened to his feelings. It seemed that his body had become stronger than before. Dr. Shu walked into the room. It seemed like there were no enhancing drugs where he lived, which was quite unfortunate. As she already said, they are mainly used to develop physical abilities. But this is only the foundation. There is still a long way to go. Firstly, physical performance is enhanced by general strengthening medications, which includes improved vision, smell, taste, thinking ability, speed and reaction, muscle strength, etc. Then comes a higher level of strengthening. The body will free itself from the shackles of genetic blocking and enter the realm of the Superman. the body will become firm and unshakable. The brain's abilities will also increase exponentially. Dr. Shu was about to tell us about the final step, but then changed her mind. He doesn't need to know about superpowers anyway. He won't see superpowers in such a small place. But however, if he is unlucky enough to encounter such a person, his only option is to simply run away. This is how dangerous people like this can be. As a result, no one in Linjiang saw this supernatural power. Song Chao changed the topic. Could Dr. Shu tell him about the prices of various drugs? He needs to buy a lot of strengthening drugs. The higher the quality, the better. The price is only a few tens, Shen Jiawen wanted to say, but the doctor quickly shut her up. There are no high-level and powerful drugs on the market. If he needs high-quality strengthening potions, he can just ask her. She will sell him 200 bottles. Song Chao awkwardly agreed, while the girls could hardly contain themselves from bursting into laughter. Fortunately, what happened cannot be revealed. So, can these potions be used directly? What he is thinking is that the strengthening drug should be adjusted for use. Song Chao knew that this option was not suitable for him. There may be some medications that can be used immediately. The doctor can order a batch of easy-to-use equipment for him, but there is no guarantee that it will be effective, and it will also be quite expensive. Naive Song Chao was ready for any offer. Okay, if he thinks that everything is okay, then 500, there will be no other price. By the way, how much does a high-level drug with superpowers cost? Shen Jiawen slapped her forehead as he thought, why aren't these drugs here? It's because of their exorbitant price. High-level drugs, their starting price is usually not less than 10,000. He may not even think about it because they can't afford it. Finally, having received all the necessary help and information, the company got ready to leave. At least at first, they would stay for the night. Dr. Shu reminded her about the payment, to which Shen Jiawen laughed lightly since they knew each other well, and they could do without paying rent. Song Chao was still deep in thought and did not participate in the conversation. What's the matter? Is he still thinking about the strengthening drug? Dr. Shu was about to leave, so the girl asked her younger sister to follow her. When the girl and the guy were alone, she said that she just wanted to give him a little advice. They need to talk frankly. He wants to buy a high-level potion. Song Chao realized that there was no point in hiding it anymore. Yes, but there wasn't even a place to buy them here. Fool, if there is no store, they can open one. As long as you have a large enough territory, enough people, and enough weapons, you can buy whatever you want. Moreover, the more strength he gets, the more confident he will feel. But Song Chao doesn't know what organization he can join here. Shen Jiawen cleared her throat with an important expression. This was her chance. If Song Chao hasn't realized yet, he has the money and she has the power. How about we do it together? Song Chao was still in doubt. That is, she says that she wants to work together. Shen Jiawen wants him to invest money, become her investor, and she will help him expand his connections and buy the necessary materials. The girl smiled contentedly. That's exactly what she meant. He doesn't know what wild food is in these lands. There are 4 leaders in Linjiang. They command the 4 largest forces in the city. Song Chao saw how the people who came to rob them ended up without support. Dozens of people disappeared in one fell swoop. He had never dealt with such people before. If he did not have the strength to protect himself, yesterday's events would still repeat themselves one after another. She has a clear understanding of these issues and can guarantee that she will do everything for him. When Song Chao agreed that her words made sense, the girl beamed. But why then didn't she create her own organization before she met him? Speaking of the two of them, they took the money from the food sales and ran to where they sell snacks and ate all the way. They both have old equipment. Maybe all the money goes to buying food. Speaking of food, uncontaminated food is so expensive, and for the first time, they didn't leave a crumb after eating everything. If they cooperate, even though he has food, he won't bring it just to eat. However, Song Chao agreed to do it together. He will support the girl in creating a team. He also wants her to fulfill her promise and give him what he wants. If he decides they can't give him the return he wants, he'll take his investment and find someone else. A chuckle escaped Shen Jiawen's lips, and when he became so confident, they came to an agreement. Then the guy and the girl shook hands, wishing them successful cooperation. Well then, Shen Jiawen will first tell you about the current situation, and then we will have to deal with these forces. Linjiang is divided into 5 regions, each with its own leaders and main forces. In 4 regions, the East, South, Middle, and North. The eastern part of the city is a transportation hub between Linjiang and the outside world, dominated by the largest black market and a large group of information dealers. The central part is the center of science, technology, and heavy industry, where the military leadership resides. There are a lot of people, slave traders and bandit groups in the south of the city. Those who tried to rob them yesterday came from there. There is also the northern part of the city. The girl involuntarily hesitated. This did not escape Song Chao's attention, and what was wrong with her? The north of the city is mainly a gathering center for thugs and mercenaries, and there are also a few information dealers there. Its leader is a little out of his mind, so she would advise just not going there. Song Chao felt that something was wrong here. What the hell was going on? What? Is no one responsible for the western part of the city? Shen Jiawen laughed softly. This is her place. Song Chao was confused. Everyone else had an army, but they only had 2 people. Shen Jiawen felt ashamed of herself, and there were reasons for that. This area actually has great development potential. It is rich in various resources. Many relics remain from the ancient dynasty, and from time to time you can dig up something good. But there are also disadvantages. Too many monsters, too high difficulty of development leads to the fact that no one comes. If so, then why didn't other people take over the territory? Shen Jiawen rolled her eyes as she had already said, because this was her territory. Dr. Shu let out an irritated breath. What is he talking about? It wasn't the voice that trembled with anger. What do you mean there is no money? Song Chao looked away awkwardly, not knowing what to say. Shen Jiamei whispered in her sister's ear why they were working with her brother when he was weak. Seeing Song Chao's reaction, Shen Jiawen asked him to keep quiet with her teeth. He doesn't want to tell her that he doesn't plan on buying that stupid first aid kit she spent all night preparing. Song Chao glanced at the sisters. The money he got from selling food had been spent on food before they arrived. Dr. Shu turned her gaze to Shen Jiawen. If she was willing to be the guarantor, the doctor would write it on their account, but they would have to pay an additional 20%. She won't agree to other conditions. Otherwise, she'll take all the medications back and won't let them take them. Shen Jiawen rubbed the back of her head desperately. Okay, she will be the guarantor. Dr. Shu, still irritated, threw the first aid kit at Song Chao to take. Now let her roll, because she's finally going to bed. He didn't expect that she would actually want to lend money. The doctor is not that inhumane. Old friends naturally get discounts. Shen Jiawen is really ready to join the team. She has had enough of this stagnant situation that the Linjiang base is currently in. What's wrong with not giving up something so fun? She will regret it in the future. After going outside, Song Chao asked about the gold. He can't get supplies for free. He needs to exchange them for other things. In addition to gold, you can exchange art objects, antiques, and other items. But the sisters had no idea what all these useless things were for. The needs of people from a large base are just puzzling. Gold, but the 3 of them won't be able to take much even if they find it. But what about buying it from someone in the Western District? But Shen Jiawen categorically refused. She would be laughed at. Although it seems she has one option. They wandered through the alleys for some time until they came to one of the shops. The man smiled good-naturedly and greeted the rare guests. They finally understood and came to do their business. Shen Jiawen rolled her eyes in annoyance. Song Chao looked at the unsightly surroundings. What was it? Shen Jiamei felt uncomfortable in this place. She answered through clenched teeth. This is a slave market. Shen Jiawen asked for 12 people, 8 men and 4 women, only fighters and skilled people. They also have to assemble equipment for it. Song Chao rode in the car, trying to digest the thought they bought a bunch of slaves. These people will join Shen Jiawen's team as reserves and labor force. That was the plan. But Song Chao had a feeling that something was wrong. These people have been silent since they got into the car. Trying to defuse the situation, the guy was the first to try to speak, but it was so quiet. Life and death are uncertain, and the future is predictable. So it is only natural that the slave is in no mood to talk. Song Chao recalled that the girl hated slaves. Shen Jiawen's gaze turned cold, and she lowered her voice. She hated them in every sense. Then the cabin became silent again. Song Chao felt goosebumps run across his skin. He returned to his seat again, wondering what happened to Shen Jiawen. Okay, they'll go into the residential area to find what he needs, then he'll come back and change the things, and they'll free these people. You wouldn't guess from her appearance that she could buy and free slaves. Shen Jiawen stared at the guy, wondering what he wanted to say. But the conversation dried up as the transport finally reached its destination. Song Chao looked out the window. They were back in the villa grounds. After he left, they searched the nearby villas and brought back everything that was easy to find. So he will take the gold lot and they will take the rest. The girl knocked on the door of the next car, then opened it wide and everyone got out. The slaves sitting inside were unsure and also acted scared. Shen Jiawen watched everyone with her arms crossed over her chest, telling them to come out and get ready for work. The men go there and take the boxes out of the truck. Shen Jiamei will take charge of the women to remove the unnecessary things. And the main thing is that they don't leave anything unnecessary. Song Chao can choose whatever he wants later, but he must not get involved with the others. Shen Jiawen clapped her hands, calling on everyone to work. Good work will be rewarded. One of the men laughed. The sisters finally use slaves too. What kind of reward are we talking about? In the end, they simply treat them, people, like labor force or cannon fodder. As long as they wear that bomb collar, they will do whatever they want. Shen Jiawen was really angry. Her voice was cold as ice. He wants to say that she is talking nonsense. The man wasn't scared at all. He raised an eyebrow, and didn't he? And if she says that their reward is their liberation? The slaves froze in place, unable to believe their ears. Could this really be a joke? Shen Jiawen laughed maniacally. No joke. She would give them not only freedom, but also work. They never thought there would be a free lunch in this world. Wouldn't they like to try and see if what she said was true? Looking at the boxes overflowing with gold bars, Song Chao couldn't help but let out a shaky breath. Everything that is easy to find nearby is already here. The guys showered him with gratitude. Almost 23 kilograms of gold, as well as precious stones and jade jewelry. All of this is worth a lot of money. Shen Jiawen prepared a bag of gold bars for him. About 6 kilograms? This is great. He will be able to get a lot this time. By the way, is there anything the sisters would like to eat? The girls' faces lit up. Beef, milk, eggs, sweets, mushrooms, and vegetables. Even better would be rice or noodles. Song Chao chuckled to himself. This was all such a simple set of products. But how much did he have to carry? He will remember everything, but this time he will probably have to stay late. Song Chao threw the box onto his back and was surprised that he was able to lift it so easily. Here they are, the technologies of the future, with which you can make money on food delivery. Shen Jiame was about to follow the boy, but her sister didn't stop her. Now they will not follow the guy, since he is considered their partner, and they must respect each other's privacy. And now they need to go. It's time to reward the workers. There is no need to doubt. The employer has no doubt. The slaves were waiting for them below. Would they really be freed? People whispered among themselves whether they believed what this girl was saying. Shen Jiawen raised her hand, attracting everyone's attention. This is their contract of sale, and also the procedure for removing the collar from their neck. She can fulfill the promise she made earlier. But before that, she has a proposal that she wants to share with everyone. People couldn't believe their ears. The girl in front of them was offering them to create an army. Shen Jiawen is sure that many of them have heard of their sister's reputation. Sisters Shen Jiawen and Shen Jiame are among the few celebrities who survive without relying on a team, and they have quite a reputation. For some reasons, she needs to form an army to expand her business. Although they are slaves, they are still talented people, and even non-fighters have special skills in their respective fields. So she bought them to make a deal for their freedom. One of the men in the crowd laughed sarcastically. Of course, he understood everything. If he doesn't agree, then they won't take the collar off him, so what difference does it make to them? That's just another way of saying it. The slaves started looking at each other. There is a limit to how arrogantly he can look at people. They should know her attitude toward slaves is well known in Linjiang. However, she was not going to break her promise. Shen Jiawen pressed a couple of buttons. The collar of the man, who had been indignant just a minute ago, clicked and came undone. One after another with a click, the collars on each of the slaves were unfastened. These people have not felt such freedom and lightness on their necks for a long time. Shen Jiawen chuckled. They could stay tonight and think about it. If they are not interested, she will not force them to stay. They can leave tomorrow morning. Left alone, the slaves discussed what else they could do. Some did not want to follow this sister, and they also do not want to leave empty-handed. Having developed a plan, the men decided to test the waters. They looked into the girl's room. She was fast asleep. The man gave a signal to the others. The girl was fast asleep. The naive fool bought a dozen slaves and immediately took off their slave collars. What other paired flower? This is a small white flower that does not understand anything. It's time to start their plan. First they will knock her out, then they must interrogate her to find out where the weapons and supplies are. The man who had almost started a rebellion today was outraged by what they were doing. They don't dare to go against Yue Jin. The brothers are just grateful to the boss for giving them freedom and want to teach her some life lessons in return. It's so stupid, they're happy to bite the hand that feeds them. The man laughed. He says that they are just paying for the service. Yue Jin stared at them for a while, then sighed. No matter what they want to do, they should not force people who don't want to be with them. The man bowed, of course, and he also asked to take care of others and not to disturb them. At least once they get the weapons, they can do whatever they want. One of the slaves quietly crept up to Shen Jiawen's bed while she was sleeping peacefully. The other men didn't lag behind. They followed Shen Jiame, who was also unconscious. The man took a swing. It's their world and they will prove it. He took aim and brought the bat down with all his might on the girl's head. The others whispered encouragement to him so that he would not doubt. However, his hands met resistance. What a strange feeling. It seemed as if the girl was protected by some invisible barrier. The slaves recoiled in fear, wondering what this was. Was it really a holographic projection? The man, screaming hysterically, said that they needed to leave quickly. However, before he could finish his sentence, a bloody flower blossomed on his neck. They had a gun pointed at them. They were too stupid to kill someone and rob. Of course, Shen Jiawen was alive and well. She expected this. Maybe she really is sleeping. In the other room, everything followed the same scenario. The man's bat never managed to touch the girl's head. It seemed she hadn't slept at all. Couldn't they have been more determined? The other slaves below were dying of impatience as to why it was taking so long. Yuejin laughed at their naivety. Later, the guys aren't so good when it comes to fighting. His words struck the man as odd. How dare he look down on him? The corpse that fell next to them made everyone fall silent. 24 slaves, a dozen of them villains, brave enough but not smart enough. No big deal. At least there are still a few people left who will be useful to them. At the command of her elder sister, Shen Jiame threw some ringing plates at the people's feet. The others looked closer, recognizing the command signals with fear. Yuejin guessed, it looks like it's all over. Shen Jiawen smiled smugly, quite. She raised her hand up, ready to give a speech. For all survivors, it's time for rewards and punishments. Despite the late night, the whole house was in an uproar. Why did this happen? People ran as fast as they could. Shen Jiawen continued to laugh. If they didn't run faster, they would fall face down on the floor. One of the bravest slaves decided to lie low and attack. Having waited for the right moment, he jumped out from around the corner with his weapon at the ready. However, his blows could not cause any harm to the girl because she was protected by armor. Have these guys forgotten what protective gear is? With one shot, Shen Jiawen cut off the slave's head. She didn't give them weapons or armor, and they want to kill her. What's wrong with the brains of these people? Her voice was full of irritation. There must be a limit to this stupidity. Yuejin decided to try to intervene. Maybe it was too much. Shen Jiawen was unhappy that one of the slaves dared to speak to her. Then she laughed again frivolously. If she had not foreseen the situation, she would be dead now. Now that they have decided to attack, there is no point in complaining about being killed. People are responsible for their decisions. If they are going to work together, he must understand her style. Make amends for wrongs directly, repay virtue with goodness. It was an early and quiet morning. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. A high, thin sound echoed across the wasteland, and reality itself became distorted. The air moved in waves. One leg stepped out, followed by the second. Song Chao looked around warily, hoping that no one had noticed him. He breathed a sigh of relief as he was finally back home and could now relax. By the way, he suddenly appeared in the backyard dressed like that. It turns out that this could cause trouble. He scratched his chin thoughtfully. He needed to think of a way to hide this. When he got home, he immediately told his father about a new medicine that could cure his lungs. However, Song Wenxiao was skeptical about this. Would there really be no problems? This is a new drug from the company where Song Chao works, and it has been tested on animals. Song Chao asked them for a few pieces, and then he would send them the data so their family could earn money. The old man shook with anger. He treats the elderly like a laboratory mouse. How can he? This thing is very expensive, otherwise they wouldn't be able to get it. Then he put the syringe to his hand. This should cure him. The father looked thoughtfully at his own palms. He had a heavy feeling in his heart. He will not interfere in his own son's affairs, but he must remember to act according to his conscience. The old man need not worry. Then he will return to work. Having dealt with his father, Song Chao headed to the flea store. When the old man opened the briefcase, his glasses almost flew off his nose. And where did this guy get the gold bars? There are only 6 gold bars. Mr. Zhou must appraise them. Carefully and timidly, he touched one of the bars, carefully removing it from the briefcase. The metal pleasantly cooled the skin. The weight of the ingot inspired calm. The merchant raised an eyebrow, but the younger brother did nothing with them. Song Chao scratched his head in confusion. No, he just took them. They don't have serial numbers, but it looks like he's not lying. Exhaling, the merchant closed the briefcase. Okay, he would take them. But this time, he can only give the guy 250 yuan per gram. Selling the bars isn't easy. He'll have to use several channels to get it done. Song Chao should just imagine that he is taking them to help him with expenses. But still, the guy was overcome with a pleasant feeling when he accepted the incoming payment. He didn't think that selling the bars was difficult. In any case, it was pure profit. but next time he will try not to take them. Surely Mr. Zhou doesn't know where the car dealership is. In such a small town, there are not many places to sell cars. If he wants to buy a car, he will recommend him one place. After all, he bought his car there himself. When the guy left, the merchant contacted an acquaintance to ask if there had been any recent robberies of stores or warehouses. No, there is no record of a crime, and the source of the gold is unknown. If there is no serial number, they are probably homemade. However, looking at the marks and oxidation level on the surface, they were made a long time ago. This is a deal. Don't do it next time. It only took a little time for Song Chao to reach the address sent to him. The girl happily asked to follow her so she could show us the selection. Her name is Chen Jia. She is a sales manager. He can feel free to ask. Song Chao walked past dozens of cars, different models and colors, barely holding back his delighted sighs. It is the largest store in the area to suit the surrounding conditions. The main products are SUVs. When the girl asked about the young gentleman's budget, he thought for a moment. They could probably start with 1 million? The remote manager sighed. Song Chao glanced sideways at the girl, wondering if something was wrong. Chen Jia instantly put on a businesslike air, asking if he had a favorite model. However, a phone call interrupted their conversation, and Song Chao's pocket was bursting. It seemed like the number was unknown. The guy apologized and picked up the phone. The girl's voice on the other side awkwardly asked if it was brother Song Chao. Xu friends, Zhao Yu and Zhang Xulan, call him. Although Xu doesn't want them to worry, they discussed it and thought it would be more appropriate to tell him. The next word shocked the young man, and he screamed in surprise throughout the store. He ended the call shortly after. Then he turned to the manager in an even voice. "Do they have a gas station here that I can pick up right away?" A few minutes later, Song Chao was driving down the highway in a brand new car. But he was so nervous that he could hardly keep his eyes on the road. Damn it, Xu Su is a real fool. Can Zhao tell me what exactly happened? She was recently stalked by a rich college boy and ignored him because there were bad rumors about him. Then this man invited her to karaoke to cheer her up and cheer for his friends. Since the pay was good, she agreed. She also asked not to tell her family, but later they felt that something was wrong. The guy's voice trembled with anger, wondering if the girls knew where they went. If they remembered correctly, this is the Heaven and Earth Karaoke Hall. Finally, Song Chao arrived at the place and was greeted by deafening music and alcoholic fumes. The girl at the bar greeted him, but the young man ignored her. No matter how she tried to stop him, Song Chao didn't care. The girl's scream about not just rushing inside was drowned out by the music. Song Chao grabbed the first door he came across. It should be here. Opening the doors, the guy found an unsightly picture. The girl was sitting with a guy. It seems they were both drunk. Song Chao felt a wave of anger rising in his chest at what was happening here. The hall was full of unfamiliar faces. All of these people were intoxicated. The guy who had recently been clinging to Susyu gritted his teeth in anger. Who the hell was he? The younger sister looked scared at what her brother was doing here. The young man grinned. Brother-in-law, then. Let him just stand there and watch them teach his sister. Susyu screamed in panic for her brother to call the police quickly. Song Chao felt his vision blur with anger, and he thoughtlessly struck out. All the partygoers froze in shock, and the room suddenly became quiet. The other guys also tried to attack him, but Song Chao easily counterattacked them. These guys are so slow, so it must be the effect of the drug. After about half an hour, Song Chao and his sister finally got out of this disgusting place. Xu was still trying to figure out what had happened. And when did her brother become so capable in a fight? He took down about 6 or 7 people, dropped out of school, and worked to learn how to do it. Xu pulled out a voice recorder. He almost thought that she had colluded with this gang, by the way, and why did she do it at all? If she's afraid of danger, she shouldn't have agreed to this in the first place. Was she really going to blackmail them? Xu backed away in fear. She looked away awkwardly and muttered quietly that she had no such plan. In fact, this time she promised him to come to agree to be with him. Song Chao couldn't believe what she just said. Then her brother won't have to fuss. He will be able to return to university and continue his studies. Xu glanced thoughtfully at the recorder. They won't take revenge. Song Chao rolled his eyes. It was still not much of an insurance policy. Xu followed him down the street. What else could they do then? If she wants to avoid retribution, she needs to have enough strength and money. Her brother's fists are now strong enough. He found a good part-time job that brings in a lot of money. The girl couldn't believe that her brother could afford to buy a car. A little more time and he will lead his family to a better life, without relying on other people and without worrying about money. They will do everything possible to save themselves from the sea of suffering. He can do it. Song Chao warned. He starts, then tore off the label from the medicine. Susu shrank back fearfully. It really didn't hurt. A strong, burning sensation spread under the skin when the needle entered. Song Chao repeated in an even voice, "It really doesn't hurt. This is a medicine to boost her immunity. She will be fine." Shushu wiped away her tears. He had already used this on his father. Is this really the so-called new immunostimulant drug? He does work for a pharmaceutical company, so it's understandable that they can be guinea pigs in the company and benefit. But what if something goes wrong? This is indeed a clinical trial. But she need not worry. He brought the latest medicine she tried, and there are no problems with it. Shushu was more and more surprised with each of his answers. He had already used it on himself. It's a fairly advanced technology, but there aren't many volunteers to test the drug, and production volumes can't scale up, but there's not enough data to bring it to market. Song Chao and the boss of this company can be considered acquaintances. She is a reliable person. Not only did he receive a big salary, but he also received a car. At first he had doubts and wanted to refuse, but she offered too much. But he still needs to be a little careful. And who made their family poor? The phone vibrated. It turns out the guy received a message. An old classmate wrote, "He wants to organize a reunion of graduates." Is he kidding me? Who's free during such a busy time? It might be worth seeing if there is anyone who can help sort this situation out. Even though his acquaintance was not a very good person, Song Chao still decided to come. Initially, he didn't intend to, but his sister talked him into it. Song Chao resisted as best he could. The most important thing now was work, and there was no time for this social game. He has a superficial view as far as his sister remembers. Many of his classmates became doctors. Now Song Chao works for a pharmaceutical company. Isn't this a great opportunity to establish connections and expand his contacts? It's difficult. He can't tell her that this is a drug from the future. Okay, her suggestion is quite reasonable. He'll see if he can find distribution channels, and if not, he'll eat and just go home. As Song Chao disappeared around the corner, the window of one of the cars opened slightly. The girl in the car became thoughtful. It seems she remembers this guy. Slamming the car door, the girl warned that she would call when she was free. She reached the elevator, but unfortunately, it had already left. Song Chao felt a little uneasy as he recalled his school days, but he was determined to do better. The young men sighed silently at the same time, hoping that this would not be a waste of time. At the entrance to the hall, a classmate greeted him good-naturedly, flashing his teeth. He narrowed his eyes, looking Song Chao over from head to toe. The guy's voice was laced with causticity. He still looked bad. Song Chao has weakened. Miao King is still the same. Song Chao's former classmates filled the hall, thanks to which he managed to avoid a quarrel. If he doesn't come to the parties, he has to drink 3 penalty glasses. Miao Qing glared at his back, full of hatred, and muttered a curse under his breath as he mimicked the boy. Meng Yuezhu followed Song Chao into the hall and greeted him at the entrance. Miao King rolled his eyes. Song Chao is from a poor family, but he pretends to be someone unknown. Meng Yuezhu shook her head in disapproval. You shouldn't say such things behind someone's back. Miao Qing smiled at the sight of her hair falling over her shoulders. He would be more careful next time. But the conversation quickly ended as Meng Yuezhu was taken away by her old friend. She took the girl to the next room. Everyone missed her so much. Meng Yuezhu, daughter of the chairman of a large company. He has a beautiful appearance and not only combines high moral qualities and erudition, but is also the second-generation leader of a large company. We need to keep an eye on her at this party. Song Chao couldn't get out of the girl's mind, so she asked her friend how he was doing. Rumor has it that he dropped out of school because he couldn't afford the tuition. The girl decided to tease her friend, wondering if the princess was really interested in the poor boy. Meng Yuezhu knew something wasn't right here. She saw the car the guy had arrived in, and judging by the brand, it belongs to a fairly high class. The girl shook her head. It didn't matter. It had nothing to do with her. She would see if there were any suitable talents. Why doesn't she ask kids who are interested in science about participating in large biological research projects? No one the girl turned to had the opportunity to engage in scientific research. Meng Yuezhu was in despair. She had already spoken with almost all the guests at this event. Disappointment washed over her. Did she really want that much? No one has yet reached senior year and written any papers, let alone participated in real scientific research projects. It was naive to think that they could find someone who could help them cope with their difficulties. Meng Yuezhu felt tired from talking so much, so she decided to just eat and go back. When she approached the table, a picture appeared before her eyes. Miao Qing was trying to get Song Chao drunk, but the guy refused since he was driving today. Everything is going according to plan. Meng Yuezhu has already paid attention to them, and she is not the only one. Although Song Chao is poor, he has a good position in the class. If he can beat him, then the girls will see his handsome side. He again obsessively handed the glass to the guy, making him feel uncomfortable. Why wasn't he listening to what he was saying? The other guys also joined in, trying to persuade him they will take him back. Some of them simply cannot drink because of an allergy to alcohol. The pressure on Song Chao was unbearable, yet he gave in and reached for the glass. Miao King chuckled to himself, as he had taken some anti-inebriation medication beforehand. This way, Song Chao will get drunk and he will make a laughing stock of him. As Miao Qing drained his glass, he silently hoped that the guy would make him look great. In the end, no matter what he thought, after a while he threw up. Others praised Song Chao. No one had ever seen him drink so much. Song Chao realized with a pleasant feeling that he was not the least bit drunk. Perhaps this was also due to the drug. Meng Yuezhu was about to leave when the bickering between the boys caught her attention as to what they were doing. She complained to her friend. In fact, she is a little desperate, no one has experience working with projects, and they can't help her. A heavy sigh escaped her lips involuntarily. She was a little desperate. The phone in her pocket vibrated. It seemed like her father was calling. But she warned him that she would go to the alumni meeting today. Is there something wrong? The girl was overcome with slight anxiety and went away to talk on the phone. The voice on the other side asked the girl to find a quiet place. He needed to tell him something. Meng Yuezhu headed to the women's restroom where no one would bother her. The girl tried to calm down. What happened? How to answer? The father sighed heavily and asked the girl not to worry and to listen to him calmly. The company has decided to close the research and development project it is responsible for. This was the decision of the board of directors. The girl could not believe her ears. To keep from screaming, she first took a deep breath, then exhaled slowly. Now she was ready to talk. However, her voice trembled slightly when she asked what caused this. As she knows, the funding is in jeopardy and they can no longer invest money. The research does not yield any results, which is why many people have complaints. Unfortunately, her father can no longer ignore the opinions of the rest of the board of directors. They analyzed that the corporation's only option was research and development. Given the current market situation, neither their products nor their production lines had sufficient competitive advantages. Only by investing huge amounts of money will they be able to leave second- and third-tier cities in the future to capture the first-tier market. If they don't fight this time, they may never have a chance again. Her father understands everything his daughter says, but this time they have to compromise. The reality is that they don't have the ability to continue investing funds before they can talk about ideas. They have to fill the stomachs of the people who go along with them. Tears welled up in the girl's eyes. She was ready to beg for another 3 months, to hold out a little longer. Within a month, she will provide him and the board of directors with a report on the gene reparation experiment. Dejected and completely in a bad mood, the girl left the toilet. After a while, the door of another stall slammed behind her. Song Chao felt uneasy. It seemed like he heard something he shouldn't have. Genetic medicine, he chuckled. That's what he needs. But her family works in the medical industry. It seems like Meng Yuezhu is having trouble with this project. Maybe he should try to resell Dr. Shu's drug. Song Chao tried to set himself up for success. It's worth a try. He froze in the doorway of the hall, trying to spot the girl. There seemed to be a stir in the room about what was going on there. Miao Qing tried to persuade the girl to drink, despite her answer that she needed to go back soon. The girl almost jumped up when she felt someone touch her shoulder. Song Chao showed up just in time. He heard that she was interested in genetic drugs. The guy grinned conspiratorially, asking if they could talk. Meng Yuezhu froze in place. She, of all people, didn't expect Song Chao to talk to her about this. So, it concerns their company's research. He hopes to talk to her about it. Meng Yuezhu tried to pull herself together. It seemed she understood what he was getting at. Lowering her voice, she informed her friend that she would go away to talk. Her friend tried to stop her, but it was too late. When the young people came out to the parking lot, the girl thanked Song Chao. After all, he came to help her. Now he can come back and have more fun, and she will go. Song Chao laughed in disbelief. He really needed to talk to her. Now it was Meng Yuezhu's turn to be surprised. In fact, he is now working for a friend's company. They are doing research in the field of genetic medicine, and they already have samples. Song Chao awkwardly apologized for accidentally listening to her call, so he wants to ask her if they are interested in reviewing the samples and collaborating. He did her a favor. She is grateful and will not persecute him for listening to her company's trade secrets. But he couldn't help but look down on other people's work. Song Chao felt his head go blank. And what was she talking about? The young man tried to justify himself, but that's not what he meant. Research requires tens of millions or even billions in leading laboratories. The world's best scientific researchers will form a team, and they will be engaged in research and development day and night. Annual investments amount to hundreds of millions, but this does not necessarily produce results. And now he tells her that a private laboratory has developed a product and wants to talk to her about cooperation. The girl gritted her teeth. There is a limit to arrogance. Then she shook her head, trying to calm down. This was rude. She had lost control. In a word, she is grateful for the offer. If anything happens, she will contact him. Song Chao tried to stop her, as he had a feeling that the girl had not taken him seriously. Meng Yuezhu immediately disappeared into the car, ordering the driver to drive as fast as possible. Song Chao was left alone in the parking lot, watching the car go by. He felt like a fool. Why did the girl suddenly explode? Did he really say something wrong? She didn't even leave a phone number or business card saying she would contact him, from which we can conclude that she clearly does not trust him. The problem is that he already has the real product in his hands. He would never have thought that he would come to him for such things. Doesn't this mean that Boss Joe has many paths? Brother Song speaks well. He doesn't have to worry about it since they are friends. The old man grinned. He had to help him too. Supermarket, reasonable price, large area, there are still many things you can use. It is close to the county and countryside, and there are many canals nearby for shopping. The old man carefully watched the guy's reactions to see if the store met his requirements. If he thinks there are no problems, the merchant will sort it out for $500,000 and also provide him with channels. Song Chao couldn't believe his luck. It was quite cheap. However, there are conditions. The old man still wants the guy to trade with him. Song Chao was only glad it was to his advantage. He was surprised. The guy agreed so quickly without thinking. Well then, he would deal with the contract. He tried to dismiss the strange suspicions. The old man was sure that his colleague was not doing anything strange. But where the hell did he get all this gold, I wonder? When Song Chao told of his latest achievements, his family could not believe their ears. He is going to buy a supermarket here, so he asks his father to help him with it. His girlfriend is quite rich, and now he helps her with her work. She gave him startup capital. He can't help in any other way. He can only run a business and then buy good meat and vegetables for them. The old man thought that his body would last a few more years if he left the mine. His lips stretched into a semblance of a smile. Okay, he would look after the store for him. The boy beamed with joy. Now his father would be freed from hard work, and he would have the opportunity to buy a lot of food and supplies. He has done a lot in his world. Now it is time to go back. The very next day, his father went to the store. The first thing he did was to tidy up the place. Jushu also went out to the store to help him. The potatoes and cabbage that her brother asked for are prepared. Song Chao loaded the boxes into the trunk of the car, as it would be easier to transport. Seriously, you can just send things like that. It's his boss, after all. She needn't worry. They don't have anything good here, but the food is fresh. Shushu carries such a box, but does not feel tired. She has good physical strength. Speaking of which, it doesn't feel too heavy, even though there are so many vegetables. The girl thought strangely, but over the last 2 days, it seemed like her strength had increased. Dad's complexion has also improved significantly, and it is clear to the naked eye that his body is returning to a healthy state. The effect of these drugs was terrifying. Goosebumps ran down the guy's spine. Well, after all, it is a standard essential item for people in that world. The father praised his son. He has a good company, since he can buy himself such a high-class car. Since his friend treats him well, he should work hard and not let him down under any circumstances. Song Chao was slightly embarrassed and nodded affirmatively. Father doesn't have to worry, he already knows it. Song Chao drove out of the street. He was already quite far away. Now, by turning the ring, he can return to the world of doomsday. If you think about it, he has actually already made enough money. Why return to this apocalypse and desperately fight for his life? It's okay if he doesn't return there. Song Chao laughed. What the hell, he hates people like this the most. He doesn't want to be the bastard who runs away with the money. Adrenaline rushed through his blood and brought a smile to his face as he turned the ring. Shen Jiawen must wait for him. He is already on his way. A thin screeching sound spread through the air. Then reality came in waves and the car disappeared from sight. The same thin sound accompanied the landing of an entire SUV near the warehouse. The landing was hard enough that Song Chao felt his teeth chatter. The car swayed from side to side as he tried to gain control. It was so scary that his breathing became ragged. Damn, it finally stopped. He didn't think he could actually move the car here. Although there were many more difficulties than he expected, it was very useful. This way, he will be able to bring and pick up many more things. First, he would put on his equipment, then go to Shen Jiawen and the others. After all, it wasn't safe here. He didn't even suspect how true his words were. He wouldn't want a monster to jump out of nowhere and attack him. The saliva dripping from above brought the guy to his senses, and he reflexively reached for his pistol. But the creature was nimble enough and managed to dodge. After firing again, Song Chao finally hit the target. The carcass landed right next to him, spraying the remains of blood and brains. The boy breathed a sigh of relief when he felt that he was safe. When a projectile came from nowhere, it made him tense up again. A hoarse male voice was heard from somewhere behind him, asking if he was okay. "You shouldn't wander around at this time." His voice changed. "Isn't that the head of the supply department?" His newfound acquaintance Song Chao helped him sort out his supplies, and they left the rest with the car. Too many supplies affect their speed. They need to walk for about 30 minutes. They must avoid many groups. The slower, the more dangerous. Song Chao was worried that there would be a problem with the car. He had just bought it. To be honest, mutants don't care about things, so if something happens, he might just forget about it. First, you need to take him to the boss, and then organize people to pick up the SUV. Song Chao left with a feeling of unease in his heart, hoping that everything would be okay with the food and the car. By the way, this is the first time he sees an SUV without modifications, weapons, or armor. The guy also brought so many good things with him. He deserves to be someone the boss appreciates. Song Chao at first doubted that the man was talking about him, how much his boss valued him. What kind of supply department manager is this guy taking him for? Luckily, he returned in time. They were planning to move in 2 days. Anxiety pierced the young man's heart. Had something really happened? He doesn't know all the details, but according to their boss, it looks like the so-called monster wave is about to start. By that time, hundreds of mutants will have gathered, not only ordinary zombies, but also many high-level monsters. There might even be a creature as large as the ghoul there. Song Chao was so taken aback by the latest news that he forgot to follow the man. Who knew that he would come out of such a place in an unprepared car? He defended the area around it, then found it, so there is no need to pay attention to the little things. Yujin cut off the argument. "Okay, they're here." A chuckle came from somewhere above. She sent him on patrol, but he returned with a gift. Shen Jiawen waved her hand. They hadn't seen each other for several days. "Welcome back." The girl winked at them. "Two cute guys, they need a guide." Song Chao responded with pleasure. He was glad to see the girl again. It's hard to believe that he came back with it as always. He appears at the right time. The most important thing is whether there are gifts this time. Song Chao chuckled. It was better to wait to unpack it and see for himself. Yuejin burst out laughing. He could only say that this was worthy of a boss. Shen Jiawen's eyes flashed. Then she would be looking forward to it. Song Chao had heard out of the corner of his ear that the girl had founded a fighting group. He asked the question that had been bothering him all along the way. What does head of supply mean? After all, he's a big boss who can get supplies. It makes sense to give him people. Song Chao rolled his eyes. He feels like he's seen as a wallet. He should be satisfied with his lot. Shen Jiawen was about to call the supply team Jukai. Wow, so evil, and what is the actual name of the battle group? Yuejin didn't answer this question, whistling awkwardly behind him. Shen Jiawen frowned. Did he really have any complaints about her name? Song Chao was beginning to doubt whether he really wanted to know the team's name. But Shen Jiawen's words about them coming interrupted his train of thought. Shen Jiame was glad to see them. They finally returned. She was so happy about Song Chao's return that she was ready to jump into his arms. The guy barely managed to dodge, thus protecting himself from fractures. Shen Jiame grimaced in displeasure. This was too much. The boy's smile faded when he realized how many people were looking at them right now. They all looked stern. Could this really be Shen Jiawen's team? And it seems that there are much fewer people than when he left. Shen Jiame saw the question in his eyes. Let him follow her. She will introduce him to her comrades. And by the way, welcome to the flower shop. Many of the team members turned away in an attempt to hide their smiles. Damn team name. As soon as Song Chao returned to the team, he immediately took over his duties. In just half an hour, the aroma of freshly cooked hot food filled the room. He was surrounded by people with plates and chopsticks at the ready, many of whose mouths were already watering. People couldn't believe they were holding such delicious food in their hands. It was worth living. Yuejin shed a stingy tear. This is the taste of real food. This is amazing. From now on, he will be his man and will fight wherever Song Chao wants. Still, the new company seemed like savages to Song Chao, so he decided to return to Shen Jiawen's familiar company. The girl devoured her dinner with pleasure and methodically, and most importantly, she remained silent. She enjoyed watching Song Chao gradually become exhausted and smirked contentedly. Song Chao rolled his eyes. They were exaggerating too much, as if they had never eaten something like this. In fact, that's true. It's the first time she sees such an idiot who shares such things with others. But he did everything right. Good food at such times raises morale. Speaking of which, Yue-jin told him that mutants had been causing trouble lately. This is just the calm before the storm. Their fortifications will easily cope with the general chaos of the mutants. But this is not enough to encounter mutants forming a colony. And when these creatures gather together, they are not interested in anything at all except what they can eat. So people usually go to Linjiang to hide. Since it is already here, they will leave soon. Shen Jiawen pointed somewhere to the side. They call it the Beast Tide. Within 2 days at most, a huge wave of animals will flood this place. This is already brewing. She was waiting for news from him. And since he was already here, there was no reason to continue to drag out time. Song Chao wanted to have a frank talk with the girl when they were interrupted. A line formed behind them, everyone wanting more. Song Chao could only shrug. They only took half. The rest was still in the car. Then less words. We need to quickly transfer supplies to Linjiang. Shen Jiawen noticed that her sister had clearly gotten along with everyone. After all, it was good to be true to one's desires. Okay, it's time to split the team. The Hyacinth Trio is going with her. Sunflower Fire Team, Maijia, Mimi, they follow Shen Jiamei. As for Song Chao, he takes the multi-grid support group. His task is simply to show the way to the vanguard. It's time to get to know your team members. They should try to get along. It was early morning. The sun had barely risen above the horizon, illuminating the ruined city with its first rays. The rattling of moving cars filled it with noise, creating at least some semblance of life. Niofantian shouted and banged on the front of the car, attracting the attention of the monsters. However, Yue-jin quickly stopped him. They needed to be quiet. They didn't need to fight the mutants here. But the guy was unwavering. What's there to be afraid of? You need to think of it as a team rework. Shen Jiawen muttered, "He'll have something to do in a while. No need to waste her bullets. Be careful or he'll lose his food." The girl turned to Song Chao. The place where they met was an underground parking lot. He needs to get along with the team first, and she will let him know when they get there. Song Chao was deep in thought. This seemed like an impossible task to him. He felt a strong awkwardness wash over him. There was absolute silence in the salon. What should he do? In any case, first they need to get to know each other. This will be an excellent starting point. Since they will be working together, they need to introduce themselves to each other. The first to speak was a man with a mustache. His name was Fisher. He was a civilian, good at paperwork and planning. The next girl was a man of few words. Her name is Alina, and she is a doctor. Kenna looked like a child, something like a cook. Song Chao also introduced himself. He used to work with Shen Jiawen, and then for some reason became her partner. Secretary, doctor, cook, plus him? What kind of squad is this? No combat capability. The car stopped abruptly, and Song Chao was ordered to get out. They were almost there, but plans were changing. The girl pointed somewhere into the distance. Song Chao followed her finger, and goosebumps ran through his body. Dozens of grotesque monsters blocked their path. There are so many of them. This is the beginning of the animal strait. The monsters are just starting to gather now, and in a day or two there will probably be hundreds of thousands of them. The time has come. Their goal is to get the things out of Song Chao's car and then escape. But before that, they must deal with the uninvited guests. Shen Jiamei's squad goes first. The girl jumped out of the car. The monsters were peacefully strolling along the city streets when suddenly a dozen shells came flying from somewhere above. The explosion destroyed the first wave of mutants. One is down, the next team can go. Shen Jiawen ordered to move. The Sunflower provided cover fire. Yue-jin and Rui La go forward to attract the rushing monsters. They must try to take them away and cover the others. This is the fastest and safest way. They don't have much time. Sunflower must continue to fire suppressively, and they will break through. There were dozens, maybe even hundreds of monsters. They were crawling out of every crack. The more fire there was, the more the battle raged, the more they advanced. Yue-jin was strong and managed to cut the creature in half. They did a great job, but they have guests, a medium-sized fallen. The girl smiled. It was nothing. She would cut it properly. Song Chao watched the battle with anxiety. It would be an intense fight. Meanwhile, several people from the team gathered outside the parking lot. Finally, they were able to find the guy's car with supplies. Unlucky, because she was surrounded by mutants. Shen Jiawen loaded the gun. They had to get into the car, and she would cover them. Niofantian rushed forward. The supply chief must not lag behind him. Niofantian loaded the cannon, firing at the creatures. These are their things. Having cleared the way, he signaled to Song Chao to go ahead. The guy's heart was pounding like crazy. He ran as fast as he could. He didn't even notice how quickly he got into the car and got behind the wheel. Niofantian also quickly jumped into the car and ordered everyone to get out of here as quickly as possible. Song Chao was in doubt because Shen Jiawen was still outside, but there was no time to think. The guy quickly turned the ignition key and the car jumped, running over one of the monster's corpses. Trying to get ahead of the still-living creatures, Song Chao drove at full speed towards the girl, who continued to shoot back. The guy braked sharply, but his partner shouted that there was no need for that. He should keep going. With one wide leap, Shen Jiawen jumped onto the hood of the car, still holding her weapon at the ready. They must drive at full speed, and she will continue to cover the retreat. The rest of the crew received a message via comms. The goal had been achieved, and it was time to end the battle. The teams must gather in their cars, and now they are heading to Linjiang. Dr. Shu raised an eyebrow in confusion. Were they really planning to move the base to Linjiang? Shen Jiawen shook her head. What a shame. They only returned temporarily to wait out the wave, and that's all. She asked her team to stay with the doctor. The girl was indignant. She runs a hospital, not a hotel. But the promise of meat and a carton of eggs quickly solved the problem. Okay, they will calculate the cost of the box for 1 month. Then Dr. Shu looked at the guy with a puzzled expression and pointed in his direction, asking what had happened to him. Song Chao's car was in a poor condition, all dirty. The headlights were cracked. Her master shared her plight. Song Chao sat on the floor in despair, grieving over his loss. It's not a collector's car. It's just a little damaged by the monster. It's not that bad. And then Song Chao exploded. Let him just shut up if he doesn't know. This car is worth dozens of train cars of food. The girl's eyebrows rose up onto her forehead. How many? How many? Dr. Shu changed the subject. They were sure the tide was coming in. Apart from themselves, no one noticed any messages about him. Every blade of grass and tree in the western suburbs is under Shen Jiawen's control. The mutants have their asses in, and she knows what they're going to do. The wave will come. If she doesn't believe in it, she will pay for it. Dr. Shu frowned and became silent. Well, that's also true. Okay, then she will pass on the message. The city's leaders have gathered and want to find Shen Jiawen. After studying the latest news, the girl turned to Song Chao. She hit him on the head with the tablet. Stop whining. Tomorrow he's going to meet her. Just to introduce the team and promote their sphere of influence along the way. He will go with her to meet the people who make decisions. And as for the car, he can give it to Mimi. Maybe she will fix it. It sounds good, but she herself is hardly sure about it. There's nothing to be done. She has to go make a call, and she won't be able to pay for it. Song Chao looked at the tablet and then at his friend, wondering what was going on. The next day, the friends headed to the northern district of Linjiang. In the center, there was a tall tower. It was so tall that the guy could hardly contain his sigh of delight. And why are they here? He thought they had a meeting. Before that, she had to come to an agreement with Yan Wang. But didn't she say that she had a feud with him? The girl clenched her teeth and looked down. In fact, there is a little. But their conversation was interrupted by the secretary, who was going to take them to the minister. The girl's gaze was cold. She didn't expect that Shen Jiawen would dare to come here to talk in person. Shen Jiawen bristled, not wanting to complicate things. Reaching an understanding with Yan Wang could save her from a lot of trouble. The secretary narrowed her eyes in displeasure but did not argue. She understood what the girl meant. Then she resumed her businesslike manner, asking him to follow her. However, Song Chao was blind to the small skirmish that had occurred. They didn't seem that hostile. Shen Jiawen smiled awkwardly. In a sense, she could be considered an ally. After taking them to the right floor, the girl knocked on the door, announcing that Madame Shen Jiawen and Song Chao had arrived. A muffled female voice ordered them to pass, and the guy felt some tension. Before everyone had even entered the room, the owner of long blonde hair jumped up from the table, causing the others to tense up. However, the minister's face broke into a pleasant smile. She was glad to see Shen Jiawen, since they hadn't seen each other for so long. She jumped up, getting ready to throw herself into the arms of the girl, who, naturally, did not want this. Shen Jiawen struck, causing the minister's teeth to click. This happened because she saw a friend whom she had not seen for a long time, and she was very excited. She didn't think there were men here she hadn't seen. Therefore, the minister awkwardly apologized to Song Chao for her abrupt and rude behavior. The girl laughed softly. They were meeting for the first time. She was the minister of the Population Census Department, one of the most influential people in Linjiang. The minister of the census, a mixed-race man, is the head of the census department, a large, brutal organization that rules the north of Linjiang City. Her responsibilities include monitoring the number of people in the city and the population density in each region. Working with cruel people and mercenaries, she earned the nickname Yan Wang, meaning Lord of Hell. Shen Jiawen got down to business. She didn't come here to find out what she wanted. Yan Wang propped herself up with her hand and grinned. asking what she wanted to talk about. The girl doesn't have to worry. She's responsible for the city, no matter what she says. However, apart from them and the local mercenaries, there were no reports of a high tide. She explains this at the meeting, but the wave will definitely appear, and the scale will be quite large. The same self-confidence on her face. Could this really be all she wanted? The minister's face lit up when the girl said that she wanted to buy equipment and supplies from her. In Linjiang, you could only find level 2 equipment at the market, but the guys from the south had special ammunition that could penetrate even that kind of equipment. Yan Wang was ready for any task, but she was interested in another question. Do they have money? Shen Jiawen smirked smugly. This was the least of their problems. Shen Jiawen introduced her partner, the supply manager of the flower shop. Song Chao didn't know how to act in this situation, so he greeted him awkwardly again. He has a lot of scarce goods. Although the quantity he can bring at one time is small, the quality is decent. Then the minister will wait and see. If they want to trade with her, they must not forget to provide a list of proposals. Shen Jiawen stood up from the sofa with a satisfied grin. Today had been quite productive, that was all. When the guests left, the secretary asked the minister if this was possible. By giving her channels for purchasing equipment, they will have absolutely no reason or opportunity to get involved in the Western region. Everything is fine. In any case, we cannot tolerate the Western region falling into the wrong hands. Besides, she was originally the providence of the Western region, and they will gain nothing by thinking of taking away her territory. On the other hand, maintaining good relationships with new colleagues is more beneficial. Now the question is, if the tide really comes in, will Shen Jiawen use this opportunity to officially step onto the scene and raise the prestige of his team? She ordered Mibo to call their troops back. Perhaps there is a way to fill the information gap. The possibility of tides is very real. As the evening drew closer, a meeting began in the central district of Linjiang, and it was time to express their opinions on this beastly tide. We need to vote on who decided to believe Shen Jiawen's words. The Minister of Security understood that she wanted to show her sympathy, but there was no sign of the tide coming in outside right now. The CEO of a private intelligence company agreed. He hadn't received any reports of anomalies either. Maybe there was some minor tide in the west, but not to that extent. Shen Jiawen remained indifferent. If they didn't want to believe her, let them not believe her. The scale of this tide could be greater than she expected. She didn't come to Linjiang to ask them to trust her. She just came to equip and organize the fortification. She understands the doubts surrounding her information, but she's not targeting just anyone. She's targeting the entire city. And when it comes to understanding mutant habits, no one knows better than her. They may think she's greedy, cold-blooded, and selfish, but she won't lie about the city's safety. They may not believe it, but when the time comes, they will be responsible for the consequences themselves. After finishing her short speech, Shen Jiawen mysteriously fell silent, enjoying the doubts in the air. The head of intelligence still stood his ground. He did not believe that the large-scale wave she was talking about would appear. The only place that has changed now is the Western District. Even if the tide comes in, it will not pose a threat to the city itself. If she is ready to step up and lead the West, they can support her. But she should not even think about using any dirty excuses to mobilize everyone in Linjiang. Shen Jiawen rolled her eyes. In that case, she would be here today, and Song Chao and Mibo would meet to trade. The girl waved her hand. They would see each other in a few days. Then the connection was lost. If she's decided to take over the Western region, she doesn't need to be so picky. In fact, it is too difficult for them to develop this area, and they cannot bypass it completely. I just don't want to bother, and Yan Wan is easier to work with Shen Jiawen. With such strength, she would rather send the setting to the southern region to carry sand. In any case, she just wants to mobilize people in the city by preaching the danger and then use them to deal with the wave in the west. Is this true? This is a person who cannot get up early and feels like she is lost if she has earned little. No matter what they say, the girl doesn't believe that this is her only plan. Shen Jiame came to tell her elder sister the latest news. 80% of Western teams said they support them and are already going. Song Chao left the negotiation room. It's all over. Shen Jiawen appeared just in time when the boys were discussing small losses. The girl froze in place and raised her eyebrows, wondering what they were talking about. Didn't she give her partner a price list? Song Chao simply thinks that given the current situation, it is more appropriate to keep the price low and ensure immediate delivery. With all due respect, they can't afford to pay rent at Dr. Shu's place. So, how much food and ammunition do they have? Food from the census department will be delivered tomorrow. What's the matter? Guests will arrive tomorrow, and Shen Jiawen needs help preparing rations for 4 people. Shen Jiawen has found some helpers. Since then, Song Chao has been busy trading resources with the census department. Shen Jiawen kept encountering some strange people who came from who knows where. The atmosphere around is becoming more tense day by day. They first appeared in the Western District. Some people who fled to the city center in the Western District passed on information to the city guards that the beast tide had begun. Less than half a day later, the Census Department from the north was also looking for mutants who rarely appeared nearby and brought back several bodies as evidence. As leaders discussed countermeasures, other news arrived. Recently, an intelligence house in the eastern suburbs was attacked by mutants. Although many people managed to escape, the losses were considerable. And finally, the last one, the southern suburbs. Slave traders in the southern suburbs were raided by monsters and instantly lost 2 concentration camps. In one day, thousands were killed and wounded. It's only the second day, but it's unknown how it will all end. Shen Jiawen appeared out of nowhere. They don't happen to need help. It's to the point. And besides, they no longer laugh at their mistrust. The tide has formed. Good or bad, all that remains is to ride it. As a result, the southern region suffered a defeat. The 2 northeastern regions are fine, but the deployment is also stretched. Now, it's not that firepower isn't enough, it's that it's too spread out. But the efficiency of killing animals is not high enough. So she has a proposal. Finally, having formed a large wave, the creatures went on the attack. But the base's inhabitants were prepared for a siege, and when it began, the crowd rushed to the bait box. Shen Jiawen was in high spirits as everything had gone according to her plan so far. Now they must head to the next location to set up a new bait. The girl ran forward, everyone followed her. No one expected that this truth could influence the direction of the wave. After all, without funds, they would not have been able to survive in the western region. Altering certain sound waves and scents to generate pheromones that affect the body and mutants has helped significantly. Under the influence of the pheromone's temptation, a group of mutants will tend to approach the bait and swallow it. Once the bait is eaten or becomes ineffective, they place a new one to control the mutant's actions. And this unique development will become their capital to compete and cooperate with other regions in the future. They don't think it would be better to use the force of the tide collected at one point. It is easy to say how this scattered herd can act at their will. If nothing is done, it will continue to develop and the protection of the southern suburbs will be in question. It turns out that Shen Jiawen is still vindictive and is thinking about suppressing the southern suburbs. If she could guarantee that she would direct 80% of the tide to the south of the city, Uncle Wei would be able to provide her with the necessary supplies on behalf of the central district. Whether the girl was confident in receiving such funding, Shen Jiawen smiled contentedly. The main thing is that she has enough material to make baits, and then she can guarantee that most of the wave will be directed in the right direction. She also uses her connections to assemble a team of people scattered throughout the western suburbs. So far, as long as there are enough units, she is confident that she will gather together the bulk of the wave. Moreover, as the course of the mutants changes, they conflict with each other and their numbers decrease. After that, she will meet with people from the western region, which is still outside the city, and organize branches of the troops. For food, ammunition, and energy supplies, she relies on others. Shen Jiawen had been on her feet for several hours, but her enthusiasm had not faded. There were enough people. She is grateful to them for their trust in her and their willingness to support her as an individual. So she invites her colleagues from the western suburbs to join their wolf pack in the battle. Thanks to the actions of the western region, a large number of mutants were sent south. The people under the girl's command continued to move and set bait. Sometimes the squads found that the number of monsters was not as great as expected, and they killed them. When faced with strong individuals worthy of attention, several squads unite. However, no matter how happy the girl was, not everything went smoothly with the operation. Just 2 hours ago, everything was planned, and most of the tide was heading towards the suburbs. But in the eastern suburbs, there are several small and medium-sized mutants, a wave of which is gathering unnaturally towards the mountains. They were contacted by a team from the other side of the mountain. They said that a barbarian had appeared. The city people don't know this. In fact, it's their own name. When mutants of the same level as the Devourer have greater strength and organizational abilities, and even have skills and wisdom, they are called barbarians. They can turn some into personal soldiers. In other words, to deal with the barbarian, you will have to deal with an enhanced army of mutants. This time, not everyone went to the city. After listening to her, they will have to take responsibility and give orders. Shen Jiawen nodded meekly. Well, what else could they do? The detachment reached the eastern suburbs as quickly as possible. The girl standing guard couldn't help but be startled when Shen Jiawen suddenly appeared behind her. She asked to follow her. The barbarian was almost 2 kilometers away. The team took a closer look. His huge silhouette was indeed visible from afar. If you count 3 teams, they have about 50 people. If they don't kill the barbarian and the soldiers here, the eastern suburbs forces won't be merged with the main battlefield. Firstly, you need to try to quickly disable the soldiers. If there is a herd around them, they will immediately run away.